31 years as a position coach at Florida State was as good as they get and personified what it was to be a Nole and his hard work and his not only recruiting and development of young men over the years, but also the class and the dignity with which he represented this university is greatly appreciated. Haggins has been the associate head coach and defensive tackles coach since 2014. He'll remain, by the way, the associate head coach while taking a new role with focus on impacting the entire program. Quote, Odell Haggins is one of the great all-time Seminoles, and I'm excited as he transitions into his exclusive role of associate head coach. That according to Mike Norvell. He will continue to be an active member of our staff. Odell will play an integral part in maintaining the standard of play here at Florida State by pouring into the development and relationships with our players and the cohesiveness of our staff in his new leadership role. Now, before I get into some of the numbers and some of the other quotes and the things that obviously we know that he's accomplished as a coach and player at Florida State, I do want to say that Odell was always one of the fun parts of being able to go to practice and to go out there and just kind of see what's right with college football coaching, right? Odell cares. It was always obvious that he cared. Above and beyond, it was the school that he played for. He cared for the kids. That you could tell. You can always tell. And Odell did a great job with that. I always enjoyed talking with him. I wouldn't say that I know him all that well, save for our interactions at the start of every football season and sort of a, hey, how you doing? And see his brother around and that kind of stuff. But I'm just happy for him. This is kind of the best of all worlds for Odell, honestly. You know, when it was announced that we were going to be bringing in Knighton, a lot of people wanted to know, well, what does that mean for Odell? And we kind of guessed at the time that, oh, well, Odell will always have a job at Florida State if he wants it. Odell will always be a part of the program if he wants to be. Odell can always be an advocate for Florida State and can help as a relationships guy in some capacity for Florida State, really for the remainder of his life. I mean, that's who he is. He's a Nole through and through, and it is exuded in everything that he does. So we were hoping that they would find a place, not just a golden parachute, not just a, hey, thanks for all the service, here's your watch, but rather an active role that would help this university, help this football program. And I think he's perfectly suited for this because people gravitate, players gravitate towards Odell Haggins because he was a great player himself. Many become familiar with that history very quickly. And then he's very relatable. You know, if you're a player and you're a big man, you see that in him. And then, the way that he walks it like he talks it. And I think that, at the end of it, you realize that there's a genuineness to him that would greatly benefit this football program so long as he was able to stick around. And they have found a way for that to happen and be an active part of it. So good for Odell. Congratulations to Florida State for getting that done, making sure of it. You look at him all time, the numbers are overwhelming. Haggins has helped FSU post a 279, 113-1 record with 14 ACC titles and 2 national championships in his time on staff. That's a winning percentage of 713. And in recognition of his many accomplishments at Florida State, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame class of 2018. He's also in the Polk County Sports Hall of Fame 2022. Odell said, I appreciate Coach Norvell and what he has meant to this program and school that I love so much. I have learned from some of the greatest coaches in the history of college football. I'm grateful for the opportunity to use my knowledge and experiences to support what Coach Norvell is doing. I'm excited for this change in responsibilities, looking forward to working alongside our new coaches. Twice, you guys know, he served as interim coach. Always seemed to be fitting in the moment, right? These were always usually during pretty complicated times that he was asked to step in that role. frustrating even times in those moments.
Yeah, you could say that in those moments, he was the healer.
Mm-hmm.
He was the healing presence for the program. I remember when we had to schedule the extra week beyond Florida to be bowl eligible when Jimbo left. He was the head coach for that Saturday. It might have been Delaware State. I forget exactly who it was. And that game, you felt better when it was over. Not because of the result, because we knew what the result was going to be, but the way the crowd embraced Odell. They already loved him, but the way they embraced their head coach.
It was good for him to feel that too. Yeah, I always loved that.
It was important. Yes. And then, obviously when he took over for Willie and we got to 4 and Odell, did we get to 5 and Odell? I'm not sure, but it was 4 and Odell. We had a watch party at the Boston College game. They turned Jordan Travis loose on the road at Boston College. First play is a touchdown. And I just remember the celebration that day. I think we did a special couple of giveaways if Florida State did win that football game, which they did. But he was the man for the job many times for Florida State, and there aren't many greater Noles than Odell Haggins.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I was going to go there. I was just about to say, if you talk about the pantheon of great Noles, his name comes up pretty quickly, especially when you think of overall service to the cause, right?
Service to the program.
Yeah, when you think about that. It's funny. It's a who's who. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have covered Odell's years here, obviously, as a coach, and he coached so many elite players that went on and were selected in the NFL draft. First-round selections, Broderick Bunkley, I remember him very well. It's during your time, Tom, wasn't it? That's the 06. Oh, yeah, it's during that time.
There were lean years, but not as lean as some of the ones we've had the last 10.
Travis Johnson was a badass. Corey Simon, I remember extremely well. Still know and talk to Corey all the time now. Andre Wadsworth, badass. I got to cover him in 98 when I first got started covering this team. Wadsworth was the number 3 overall pick, remained the highest drafted player in FSU history until 2015, when, of course, you and I went up to Alabama and watched Jameis get drafted number 1. Haggins coached Braden Fisk, who's doing a few things right about now. Eddie Goldman, Timmy Jernigan, Pro Bowler Darnell Dockett, who Tom had one of the more interesting conversations with while promoting a video game.
That's true.
Larry Smith, Andre Fluellen, Jerry Johnson, Julian Pittman, Leroy Guillon, who, by the way, had the distinction of being in the NFL for 105 years, unbeknownst to anybody.
That's correct. Yeah.
Every time you're flipping the channel, you're like, is that Leroy Guillon? He's still in the league? Yes. Year 16?
Yeah, you'd see he'd be in Madden all those years. I'm like, who is Guy on? And why is he from Florida State? Who's this Guy on guy? Yeah, well,
Troy Guillon, yeah.
My latest, most recent fond memory of Odell Haggins came last year, and I've told this story many times because now Braden and Jared Verse are playing together at the professional level. But it was a brain trust meeting in the corner of the IPF. It wasn't a contact drill. It was the 3 of them going over twists and stunts and the chemistry of what it takes to disrupt an offensive line. But you had a future Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate in Braden Fisk, a future Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate in Jared Verse, talking with Odell Haggins about the finer nuances of the position and defensive line, the communications necessary to make a play work. And this was early in the season. So it was before that surge that they had in November against Florida and December against Louisville when they were unstoppable as a duo. I just remember that so fondly because you could see in their eyes the passion for the sport and the passion for the details of the sport. And it was 3 brains that understood what it took at the highest level, trading ideas. That is the coolest moment that I can remember with Odell in a practice setting. But there are so many great moments from a heartstring standpoint that he's been a humongous part of.
Congrats to Odell Haggins. We'll see him around for many more years. So it's not as if he's going away at all. He's got an opportunity to continue to contribute. He's just going to have a lesser role as far as the on-the-field stuff. So we are excited about Odell Haggins.